Hi everyone, it's Kristen Redman, and today we're going to go over the planetary aspects that are surrounding us and affecting us for this week, May 15th through the 21st. And this is Jack, and he's going to say hello on Mother's Day, right? Here's my youngest, and this is Teddy. Jack got hurt yesterday playing baseball, and so we're taking it easy outside today on Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to everybody that is watching. Can you say happy Mother's Day to everybody?
Happy Mother's Day.
Alright, why don't you go and play and I can do my stuff, okay?
Okay.
See you later, Teddy.
Bye.
Alright.
Bye, everyone.
So here we go, starting out today. We're carrying through a lot of energies from last week. Right now we have Saturn, which is the planet that kind of sets the boundaries and the rules and the structures. And today, interestingly enough, it's making a really wonderful connection with the Taurus sun on Mother's Day. And of course, that shines a light on all the structures and boundaries and limitations and lessons that we've learned in this lifetime, right? As we mothers do, we set those boundaries and parameters, and those things come into the forefront today under the Taurus sun, which helps us to stay grounded in reality, which moms always do that, don't we? Keep everybody grounded in reality. And so that kind of sets the tone for this week, right?
Back, Mom.
Okay, baby. All right. And this week we have some other things happening too, because that Taurus sun is going to be changing into the sign of Gemini towards the end of the week. We also have Mercury, the planet of the mind and thought, going into the sign of Taurus this week, backing back into it as it did before when it went into its retrograde. It was in Taurus for a tiny bit, now it moved forward. So it's going back into Taurus this week, kind of stabilizing the mindset, keeping us focused in reality. And then we also have Venus opposing Jupiter this week as well. And these are two of the major aspects that I've talked about quite a bit in 2017 for where we're thinking with the heart as opposed to the head. So this week it kind of highlights both of the major planetary players that are a part of that essence too. So I'll get into that in a moment. But first, let's go a little bit more into detail with that Mercury going into the sign of Taurus. Like I said, when Mercury was, before it went into retrograde, it was in the sign of Taurus. And when Mercury, the planet of the mind, lands into this earthy sign of Taurus, we become a little bit more stubborn in our thought process. We become very focused on the earthly tangible items that are in our life that Taurus controls. And that is money, 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 money. Big time. Big time focus on money and the stability that is around us and the security that we have all around. Okay, what brings us security in our life? This Mercury in Taurus is going to really make us focus on that a lot more. It started to. Okay, this was in, let's see here, okay, it was beginning part of April. So beginning part of April, we had our mindset thinking about that. How can I make things a little bit secure for myself in terms of money, career, whatever it is, those things that bring you that money in this lifetime. And then it backed into the sign of Aries, and it made our mindset go into freeing ourselves. How do I liberate myself to do these things that I want to bring this security into my life? So another thing too with that is that we have, as Mercury left retrograde, it was still in the sign of Aries, and in that process we're still thinking of ways to shake things up, bring new things into our lives that can really help us to bring that security we're looking for. Well, now we're back into it this week, okay? On Tuesday the 16th, that is when Mercury moves back into Taurus. It moves back into that earthy sign. So we start really becoming solely focused on this, on all the things that are material in our lives again, right? We're focused on that work, but now we're ready to get the wheels in motion. We're really ready to, because we've done enough thinking on it. Now we're really ready to get rocking and rolling on that. So not only do we have that, but our thoughts, our communication in general over the next 3 weeks as it's going through that sign, we're going to be a little bit more deliberate and we're going to be a little bit more methodical because we are going to think before we speak. Whereas opposed to Mercury being in Aries over the past several weeks, being back and forth with the retrograde and such, we may have been a little bit more impulsive with our thoughts leading to our communications. So we may have been a little bit more fiery with our talks with folks. But now it's going to be starting to slow down as we go into Taurus. And then, of course, with Gemini coming up as well at the end of the week. We'll get into that in a minute as well. But before that, let's talk about Friday, because there's a couple of things that happened Friday this week as well that are astrologically important to us all. Like I started it out. Remember I said Saturn is that planet that sets those rules for us, just like Mom does, right? And it's going to be making a really good connection with Uranus on Friday. Uranus is the planet that is the rebel. Okay, so isn't that interesting that we've got the mom and the rebel, okay, working together hand in hand, and that's quite an interesting combination right there in itself, right? And what that really does for us is it helps us to, number one, the rebel, why we rebel, right, is because we get stuck in these situations where we feel like, I am just beyond tired with this. I'm bored with this. It's lived its purpose, and I just can't move past it because I'm just too stuck, right? Uranus comes in and it shakes things up. It electrifies our life, and it throws chaotic, weird energies and events and people in our lives to get us to shake out of the humdrums of where we are stuck. And it moves us into something that's a little bit more for us this part in our lives. Yeah, these things may have worked before, but now we get to this point where Uranus comes in and it touches certain aspects in our chart. And it says, nope, time to free this up. Time to free this up a tiny bit. So this week, Uranus is going to want to free up some of those rules and structures and boundaries that we have around us. But if you do, you've had enough mindset. Jack, please. We've had enough mindset thinking about how we want to change things. Now it's going to be a little bit more stable thanks to Saturn. So if you've been putting those thoughts out there about how you want to change things, this is the week that it stabilizes it. It really does. But keep an eye out. Remember, the past couple of weeks, we've had Uranus bringing us unexpected news, unexpected events, unexpected communications. And then this week, Saturn comes in to say, okay, you know what you need to do with this. Let me stabilize it and make a good foundation for you to build on. All right, that's awesome. Because then later that day, we've got Jupiter opposing Venus. All right, this happens every year, of course, because Venus is a fast-moving planet as well. So it's going to happen a couple of times in a year, actually. But right now it's really awesome because Jupiter is in the sign of Libra. Libra, of course, being ruled by Venus, the planet Venus. And normally when planets oppose or square one another, it brings a lot of difficult energy for us, okay? But right now, this opposition actually is a good thing, Jupiter opposing Venus. Because they're both really good guys, right? They're the good guys of the solar system. Jupiter, of course, being the large planet of luck. This is very happy and optimistic. And then you've got the other one, Venus, which is a planet of love and beauty and harmony and balance. So when these two guys square off, any normal year, it may create a little bit of an issue in terms of maybe like some things getting blown up in your love life or your money or what have you. But this year, because Jupiter is transiting through the sign of Libra, every 14 years it does that. It balances the scales, because that's what Jupiter does. It balances the scales in Libra. Libra is the scales balancing things. And it's bringing luck in the process, okay? Because a lot of times we do things and the scales of life become so unbalanced. And right now what's happening is that Jupiter wants to bring us all of the hard work that we've put in. It's ready to balance things out and bring us something positive in the outcome. A lot of it's relationship focused and money focused this year. Libra, of course, being ruled by Venus. Venus is the planet of love and money. That's why I say it's a year of balancing the scales in both. So when these two are opposing each other right now, it's going to really bring those aspects to the forefront this week, okay? Maybe it's something bad that happens. Maybe it's something good that happens. Whatever it is, that balance gets brought into your forefront of your mind this week, right? And the other thing, too, of course, with that is that while this energy is good for paying attention to where these scales need to be balanced, it's also a good thing because it It's also a good thing, too, because it shows us where, how do I want to say this? Okay. We put ourselves in these little boxes, right? We limit ourselves with what we can do. We say, this is good enough. I'm comfortable here. I may as well stay here, right? Well, our life purpose says, no, you have to go beyond those boxes at some point in life. You have to move past it. You have to go forward. You have to try new things. And Jupiter is also a planet much like Uranus. Uranus wants to free us from those boxes. But Jupiter wants to expand us, right? And in that process of taking that leap of faith, blessings come, right? So this week, where we may find that we're ready to take some leaps of faith in these areas where the scales need balancing, it's a good thing, right? Any other normal year, I'd say maybe wait for this aspect to let up by the end of the week. But this one is a good week to do it because it's encouraging you to take a risk. Jupiter opposing Venus wants you to take these risks. And the outcome of it may be you have too much fun, right? Or you find too much of a good thing. Or you may just have too much romance or too much money, right? Because that's what Venus rules. And Jupiter wants to blow that up and expand that. So that's something that's happening this week as well. Just kind of showcasing the highlight of this year of Venus and Jupiter together and Libra, balancing those scales, just really trying to balance the heart center, the give and take in life, and ultimately help us to find what makes us happiest in life, as opposed to just settling for what we feel we have to do. Because the universe says you don't have to. We're ready to free things up this year. And in the process of that, too, let's talk about mindset. Thinking. Oh, my goodness gracious. And that's going to be happening a lot as the sun transits into the sign of Gemini. That's going to happen on, I just wrote May 20th. So I'm guessing that Saturday. It's the weekend. It's the end of the week. I know that's when the sun transits into Gemini. And as the sun goes into Gemini every year for 4 weeks, we all start to be intellectually stimulated. It's an air sign that's very mentally focused. It's all about communicating these thoughts with other people, bouncing the ideas off of them, having them communicate their thoughts back to you. All those things become very important in that time frame over the next 4 weeks. And not only that, but it's also as mentally driven as it is, of course, wanting to learn new things, read about new things. Geminis are always notoriously known to read and think and always want to find new things out. You'll also find that you're going to be a little bit more driven to as well, to educate yourself on new things, read up on new things, whatever it is. But it's not just about mental activity, it's about the socialization of it too. Like I said, taking these thoughts from here and communicating them outward, it's going to be a main focus over the next 4 weeks. Social activities, having fun, spending time with others. It's the variety of sharing those thoughts with various types of people that Gemini loves, okay? And in that process, you may find too as well, because Gemini is so in love with change and new and variety, that you may get a little bit bored and humdrum, and your attention span may be a little bit short in terms of those things over the next 4 weeks as well. Because you want to keep things fresh and new and fun and have that variety. So nothing wrong with that, right? Because this is also part of that aspect for the underlying current of the year with Venus and Jupiter trying to bring us these happy things, helping us to think with our heart instead of our head, right? A lot of those things get brought into the forefront this week as well. Know the Jupiter's behind it, right? They're always bringing luck no matter what through the rest of this year, no matter what changes it brings. So that's something we keep an eye out for as the sun goes through Gemini over the next 4 weeks. Mental focus, thinking. So let's do that now. My stones are way over here on the other side. These are the stones that I take with me places, that I give to people. My wonderful stone lady, she harvests these stones for me. And she goes on her trip to the Carolinas every year, and she literally will mine these stones with a bucket and a sieve, and go through it and hand picks each one of these. And so these are the stones that I take with me when I do my readings to give to people, because I feel that we all need these essences of the earth that help ground us, that help open our mind. And I connect each one with a certain energy, archangel, spirit, what have you. And so let's see today who's working with us. We'll pull a reading together, kind of pull all the energies of this week together and see what they have to tell us. All right, let's see here. Who's working with us today? I'm just like, kyanite. Interestingly enough, every time I pull a kyanite, especially kyanites are stones that are all about mental thought. Surprisingly enough, right? But it's about psychic thoughts, psychic insights. We receive these insights and we get guidance. What's awesome about a kyanite too is that I always, especially these pink ones, I associate with Archangel Jopiel. Archangel Jopiel is the angel of 2017 because she's the angel of the sign of Libra, those scales, everything we just talked about. She's the angel that organizes things around us, clears out what we don't need so the energy can flow right. So that the energy can flow right. And that way we can receive things. Because a lot of times we get these energetic blocks and they prevent us from moving forward. Jopiel moves them out of the way. She's the one that helps stabilize things. And she helps us to beautify our thoughts and our mindsets. So we're not always living in negativity. The more negative you are and the more focused you are on what you don't have, the more of that you receive, right? She's the angel that tells you, don't think like that. Think better, and think better of yourself, right, too. She helps us beautify ourselves. So if you're in the process of wanting to start a diet, especially since we're still in this full moon cycle over the next 2 weeks from the Taurus full moon, if you're ready to do a diet regimen, new thing, it gives you the power to stick with it. And she's the angel that helps you to feel beautiful about yourself inwardly and outwardly so that you can stick with it as well. So she's around, Archangel Jopiel. Sorry, baby, it's just sticky.
Is it queen bee?
Well, it won't hurt you if you don't hurt it, okay? Why don't you just pay attention to your train and it won't hurt you, okay? We got a bee flying around. Must be Archangel Jopiel, right? So, let's pull some cards and see what Archangel Jopiel has to tell us for this week as well, right? Let's pull it all together. What you got to tell us as we beautify our thoughts? Get rid of those toxic thoughts, right? Nothing good comes from thinking ugly thoughts. I just feel like I only have to do this 2 more times. 2. Okay. Oh, she's... Isn't this funny? Because this is a Libra card, actually, too. Oh, isn't this so cool? I just thought of a client of mine that has a birthday that's in this week, too. This is actually the week of, like, the first part of Libra. So this is going to be, mid-September. That last week of September, basically, is when this card represents. So if your birthday's in this time frame, too, this is really directed at you, let me tell you what. But the 4 of Air is a card that says, my gosh, you're thinking too much, and you're driving yourself insane from thinking way too much. It's time to take a break. It's time to remove yourself from the situation. Stop overthinking so much, because the more you think of it, the further you're going to get from an answer. I will be done shortly, okay, and then we can play. So just give me a few more minutes. So this is the thing that says, you know what, hey, let's stop thinking, take a rest, take a break, take a vacation, take whatever you need, and allow yourself a little bit more time before actually making a decision. Don't force yourself to make any decisions this week on anything, especially since Mercury is going into Taurus as well. It would best serve you to keep those thoughts grounded in reality and know that you're getting the right information by not rushing into things. Taurus doesn't like to rush into anything, right? It's a very stable sign. So take a cue from the planet of thought this week as it moves into it. Don't rush into any decisions right now. Just go with it and just, it says meditation is going to provide more of the answers. Why don't you do that, right? Because that's what a kyanite does. It opens up that third eye so you can receive psychic answers. Don't rely on the lower mind so much, right? Focus on what the higher self and the higher mind is telling you, and Archangel Jopiel brings that through. So I'm going to also pull another card from her as well and say, okay, we're resting. We're opening our third eye. What is it you need us to focus on in that process? Okay, that's what we're going to pull right now with this card. Wow, it's hit my heart center pretty good. Pretty good. Definitely take a break, right? And I was wrong on the date with that card. Actually, this one is towards the end of Libra, so that is going to be like the 3rd week in October, technically, is when this one is. I'm sorry, I was thinking the 2 of Air. This is the 4 of Air. So if your birthday is in that time frame, they're definitely talking to you, but let's see what else Jopiel.
Jackie.
No, don't do that.
Why?
Because you'll break that. Dad spent a lot of time making that for me. Okay, you don't want to break that. Isn't this interesting that on Mother's Day I would have my little one here? All of us with our Saturn that comes out.
Yes.
Yes. The one that tells us no, no, no. That's what Saturn does. Limits us, restricts us. But darn it, it's a good thing because it keeps us from breaking boxes apart or hurting ourselves or getting smucked in the eye with a bat.
Yeah.
Right?
Like I did.
Like he did. Okay.
Right? Yeah, my eyebrow.
Yes, we know, baby.
Yes, we do.
Say a number.
12.
Well, that's a lot. I think I've already done that. Can you give me just one number?
1.
Perfect. Balance. Isn't that cool? Good thinking, Jack. Thank you.
Yeah.
So balance. How perfect is this one, right? We talked so much about that. Bringing the scales into focus. I think that's exactly what she's saying. Is you're taking time to... Are you the scales? What's a scale look like?
Balance.
Exactly like that, right? That's what we're going to do, right? Archangel Jopiel is kind of working through the little one here. Take a rest, take a break, right? And in the process, focus on the balance of them, right? Balance between the two. Don't, this is a card too that says sometimes when we think too much, we're not focusing on what amazing insight we get through our emotions and our heart. And then we lose total sight and then we make the wrong decision, right? So definitely this week, you take a little break, focus on that balance, and know that Archangel Jopiel, the angel of balance, is working on bringing all the correct information here and here at the same time. So, everybody, have a wonderful week and say Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. Bye.